Hello, I'm Phyllis Zimbler Miller. This is a new episode of Israel at War. It's day 145. I have with me a special guest, Dan Mogulof. He is the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Communications and Public Affairs at UC Berkeley. And we will be discussing an event that happened at Berkeley 2 days ago on February 26th. So first, I'd like Dan to just tell us what happened.
Yes, and thanks so much, Phyllis, for this opportunity to speak directly to people who care deeply about the Jewish community, and in this case, about the Jewish students at UC Berkeley. We had a few Jewish student organizations who invited an Israeli attorney to come and speak to them at an event on Monday night. We were made aware on Sunday that protesters were calling for a protest and perhaps even for people to come and try to shut the event down. Knowing that, we sent a very significant number of police officers to the event on Monday night.
Can we just clarify campus police officers?
Campus police officers. We have a highly trained and extremely competent police force at UC Berkeley. And we sent far more officers because we were concerned about the threat to the event. We sent far more officers than we had to any other event related to the war in Gaza since October 7th. So I'll give you an example. I went to a seminar that was given by two Jewish scholars a couple of weeks ago about the conflict and about anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. We had one police officer and there was no disruption, no protest, no violence. And that has been the case for the numerous dozens of protests, demonstrations, seminars, workshops related to the war since October 7th. But we still sent an extra number of police to safeguard the event and to do what we could to make sure it went forward. I was there.
Wait, what made this decision? Why did you feel that this wasn't going to be different?
We didn't know it was going to be different, but we were concerned because this was the first time we had seen a social media post prior to an event by individuals associated with the pro-Palestinian cause who seemed to be calling out to others to come and stop the event. That got our attention. We sent every available police officer we had to the event. I can't give you an exact number. I've been asked by our chief of police not to do that because she believes, and we agree, that gives the bad guys an advantage to know how we staff these things.
Okay,
but to say it was 10 times more than the amount that we've sent to previous events. Anyway, I was there and was shocked. I'm really shocked when a mob of 200 protesters showed up, mostly students, but not all, and began to attack the building, pounding on the windows, breaking glass.
So they waited till after the students were inside, is that correct?
They came as soon as they realized where it was, because we had changed the venue, try to avoid, but somehow they found out where we had changed the event venue to. And they showed up at about 6:15 before the event that was scheduled to start at 6:30. Their fury and their numbers and the potential for violence were such that the police had no voice. Our police chief was on the scene, and there was no choice but to cancel the event and quickly evacuate all who were inside. We did not have enough police to do all of the following three things: arrest those who were breaking the law, do what was necessary so the event could go forward, and protect the students. Suffice to say, we prioritized the last category. And that's regrettable because they had every right to hear that speaker. And that speaker had every right to have his views heard. We are appalled by what happened. We have opened a criminal conduct investigation. We are urging students with any information about those who may have been involved to come forward. We are urging any students involved who may have been hurt or assaulted or witnessed anything like that to come forward. We understand we're in new territory now. We understand that all that we understood and all that we've witnessed on campus since October 7th is no longer an adequate guide to what we need to do to protect the First Amendment rights of Jewish students, to protect their safety and well-being. And we are going to do everything that we can so something like this never happens again.
That is why I wanted to have you on, because I wanted, as we say, from the horse's mouth, because, you know, this sentence in the article I read quotes you as saying the university will launch an investigation into the incident. And I wanted to hear that it's more than just an investigation, that it's a commitment and a dedication to changing things. And the article I read, I don't want to name which newspaper because said that the protesters were wearing masks and therefore facial recognition doesn't work. Is that correct?
Not all, the vast majority of protesters were wearing masks, either COVID masks or keffiyehs that were wrapped around their faces, but not all. I cannot go into further details.
Yes, that's
Further details are protected by federal law having to do with student confidentiality. Suffice to say, within the realm of what's possible, we're going to do whatever we can to try to identify those who may have been involved in criminal activity and ensure there are consequences for that behavior.
okay. That's what I wanted to know, because I was so upset when I read the first article yesterday, and then I thought, oh, this is just going to be another whitewash. I'm sorry, I'm just going to tell you my reaction. And that's why I'm so pleased to talk to you. Now, I know we only have a few more minutes. I just wanted to know, because you identified the speaker, we don't have to say his or her name, as a lawyer. I thought it was someone from the IDF. And do you think
No,
that made a difference?
he's like all Israelis. He serves in the reserves, meaning he's an Israeli attorney who was also a reservist, and I believe he did serve in Gaza. Has served in Gaza recently, meaning since October 7th, and apparently that too is going to be part of the talk he planned to give.
Okay, so do you think that was the part that just pushed these pro-Palestinians to be even more vocal than they'd been before, or it's
I'm
just
not,
growing?
you're asking the wrong person if what you want to know is how those people think.
Okay, okay, that's a fair response. So, is there any advice that you would like to give parents whose students, Jewish and non-Jewish, are at Berkeley right now about their protection and what they should do and how they should report just little things? I'm a big believer in the broken
Yeah,
windows theory,
sure,
you know.
sure, sure. So first of all, I've been at the university for 20 years. And in that time, there have been numerous pro-Israeli demonstrations and anti-Israeli demonstrations, all that. Parents should know that in the course of those 20 years I've been on campus, three Jewish students, three in 20 years, have suffered very minor injuries, not needing hospitals, because in the context of those demonstrations, three. Three is too many. It should be zero, but there's nothing to suggest that there is any kind of physical threat to Jewish students at UC Berkeley. And there's a reason for that. We didn't launch an anti-Semitism education initiative on October 8th. We launched our anti-Semitism education initiative in 2019. It has a full-time director. We established the first of its kind Chancellor's Advisory Committee on Jewish Student Life that's chaired by Professor Ethan Katz, one of the leading experts on anti-Semitism in the country. He has direct access to the Chancellor and all senior leadership. His job is to gather representatives of internal Jewish organizations, Jewish students, and external. We work with the JCRC, we work with the Federation, we work with the ADL, we work with the American Jewish Committee, but we have a very strong body that's there to advise, to advocate for Jewish students, and to ensure the administration is doing all that it can so that they can feel safe, welcome, and supported on the UC Berkeley campus. We have very strong Jewish organizations, Berkeley Hillel, and for the sake of transparency, I'm a board of directors member of Hillel. Very strong organization. We have strong Chabad group. We have a strong Bears for Israel group. So one of the things I recommend for Jewish students is become part of the community. Don't be on your own. Find those connections. That's going to help your feeling of safety, of security, because even though there may not be any evidence to suggest that there's a serious physical threat of any sort for Jewish students, there is a feeling of precarity. The campus, like the rest of the country and the world, has seen this really disturbing and disgusting increase in anti-Semitism. The university condemns that and acts against that, but it's all but impossible for the university, just as the case for society as a whole, to head anti-Semitism off in every instance before it happens.
Agree.
It's sad and unfortunate. But one of the ways that students can feel safe and secure and feel that essential sense of belonging is to join one of the Jewish organizations. And there are ample choices. There are some that are sort of fairly neutral in terms of their politics, others less so, the full range. So I think those are like the main recommendations. And then, for students, and we say this to all students, take advantage of we have nighttime escort services, we have transportation to the campus at night, all sorts of things that are there. The other thing we always urge students to do, and particularly Jewish students, not particularly, that's not true, I'm sorry. We urge all students, and lately we've been particularly focused on Jewish students because of our awareness of the uptick in anti-Semitism, is if they have experienced any harassment or discrimination based on their Jewish religious, national, or ethnic identity, they must report it, and we promise them there will be a response. There will be a response. We have the Office for the Prevention of Harassment and Discrimination. That is the university office that is responsible for enforcement of the federal rule called Title VI that protects a whole variety of protected classes, ethnic, gender, and so on. And we're serious about that. So that's just some of the advice that I'd like to.
Okay, I want to emphasize, I want you to say once more who they contact, and if they're really worried, can they do it anonymously? In other words, how does that?
So they should contact the Office for the Prevention of Harassment and Discrimination. Just do a little search, UC Berkeley, OPHD, you'll get there. They can file a complaint anonymously, but we can't follow up. In other words, we can't impose any discipline. However, our rules about retribution for reporting are as strict as anybody's. If a student comes forward and reports something, and there's any sort of retribution from another student, a faculty member, or staff, oh my God, we will land on that person with both feet.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to reassure people, because I have spoken to a student leader at Berkeley, not without giving away too many details. Some of the Jewish students that he knows are worried about speaking up.
We know.
So I just wanted to kind of share that, saying, okay, so we've now made it really clear. Okay, so you have a lot of other people to talk to today. You know how much I appreciate your coming on, Dan, but I did want to hear it from the horse's mouth. I've been getting emails about it so that we can say this is what's going on, but this is what's going to be done, which the news media doesn't always report as much as what's happening. I wanted to report what's going to be done. So thank you so much. Again, this is Israel at War, day 145. And as I unfortunately have to end every such podcast, I say, bring them home.